Madness, violence, drug abuse, and the occult. All of this went hand in hand with the notorious underground group Death Cat. We'll take you through the universe of one of the most malfunctioning bands to exist, through their dark philosophies of nihilism to their own self-destruction in an attempt to unravel the universe. This is The Curse of the Death Cat. The origins of Death Cat began in Detroit, Michigan, fall of 1988. It started with Tom. He was the one with the words and sounds. Later, he would meet other absurd characters who became vital pieces of the group as well. Most notable were Austin Scummy Bear, Joseph Osif, and Shane Seth O'Connor. Tom grew up in the Wayne County area near Detroit, Michigan. Born April 1st, 1969, to Lorraine and Tony Zarzecki.
I divorced his dad when he was really young, Tom. He didn't know that his dad was messed up with the mafia and was selling drugs and bodies and all that. They pretty much, up until, what, 10? I think I used until they were 10, so they pretty much were on their own, and they were pretty crazy.
My mother used to be a stay-at-home wife hooked on coke. My father had accusations of being part of a mafia that had been extinguished. My sister and I grew up in some pretty nice as well as some pretty rough parts of town. We learned to scam people at a fairly young age. We started off selling fake drugs, and eventually we had to move up to real stuff.
Tom and Jenny, they used to watch me when I was a drug addict when they were little, and they saw me snorting coke and buying it, so they put flour in these little packets and go sell it down the street to everybody. They're like, well, Mom gets it and pays for it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were doing pretty good, too, for a while.
And then they got busted because people figured out it wasn't real cocaine. They tried to steal mine.
In 1985, being influenced by horror movies and the band Samhain, Tom and longtime friend Aaron Sallow formed their first group, the horror punk band Bathroom.
Alright, so Bathroom, we formed that band in 1985, and we were really into Samhain and shit like that, you know, Satan, and so we wanted to form a band that, reflected that, so we did. We had about 8 to 9 people in the band, and when we first started, so it was pretty cool. So, we were just kids, 16, stuff like that, so we started selling drugs. It's pretty much what it led to.
Never forget the time I went up into Tom's room and he had the whole room stacked with orange juice cartons. And we're like, Tom, what are you going to do with those? Oh, that's for my audience. And he would throw them out when he was on stage. He'd throw empty orange juice cartons out, and people thought it was funny. I thought it was a little crazy, but, I think Tom was a little mentally challenged in the head. I think he was a little nuts after, all the stuff he saw and all the stuff he was doing, like selling drugs, getting chased by the mole people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he would have a stab wound or a nervous breakdown, and whatever came out of those type of things, he would formulate into a song.
What inspired me to make music was all the music that I heard out there was complete bullshit. I didn't want to fucking hear it. And I remember, what I wanted to hear. When I was in first grade, I was sick from school. My uncle was plugging in this really old TV set I had in my room. And, I don't know, the circuit blew. He plugged it in and static and lights flashing. There was a big spark, and I just remember that noise stuck with me. That's why I picked up guitar.
Like Bathroom was starting to get old, and people were starting not to like it anymore, so we're like, let's just form a new band. So we formed this band, Kill Attack, and that was in late 80s, I think, something like that. And, we had a couple of other members, this girl Vicky and Jade, so, they played things in there. And, we had a good run with that band and all that. Alright, Kill Attack shows, like, I remember a couple where everyone they lost control and they started breaking everything, which was cool. and the cops were called, and then we all went to jail, and that was pretty cool. And then so at the end of it all, we all had different musical differences at the time. So we kind of just decided, yeah, this isn't working out too much. And Tom was getting into this weird, like, cult stuff, and it was pretty fucking weird. So we're like, we're not feeling that. So he left the band first, and we tried to keep going, and it was a complete fail. So we just stopped that band altogether.
After about a year of pretty much living inside my car as well as my girlfriend's place, selling pizzas and drugs, I decided to get a new band together. I had a bunch of songs I had previously written in Kill Attack that the other members wouldn't learn, so I started trying out drummers.
Shane Seth Connor was born August 3rd, 1970, and raised in Detroit, Michigan. He had played drums and bass in various garage bands until meeting Tom and becoming the drummer of Death Cat.
I was a little low on cash, and I was a little hungry, and I needed some drugs, so I went, I took the advice of my friend, and I went and met this guy where, basically, Tom just told me that he needed someone for an artistic endeavor, and, how could I say no?
We played our first show together at the Double O. This band we played with, the Dead Ringers, liked our set so much they invited us out to play our show the next day at this house in Ann Arbor. I don't think it's a venue anymore. That's when we changed the name to Death Cat. I considered ridiculously Purple Cats. Now my memory sabotages and destroys them.
The band duo began playing shows around Michigan, leaving audiences either exploding with gratitude or hatred.
For some reason, the band was playing at a coffee house. Don't ask me how or why, but it did not go over well. Other than the fact it went over great, there was two vital people he met there, myself being one of them, and Joseph Osif being the other.
I was playing an acoustic set in some coffee house, and for some reason this crazy group comes in and plays awful music. I hate everyone, so I liked the fact that they were pissing everyone off, and I decided to rock the keys with them.
As the trio tore up local venues, bars, and garages, they also began tearing up the ground that they walked on, twice as many enemies as fans. Even amongst friends, they would argue over how any morals were a joke, as life itself was a joke.
Well, once people started to get a vague idea even of what Death Cat's all about, it was like a cult thing. They wanted to feed Death Cat. They wanted to stimulate it, and a lot of times stimulating it involved just random acts of brutal violence at live shows. People would knife fight and poison and rape and pillage and just destroy, and shows were always at random locations, never at a venue. It was a lot of times like rave-esque in the sense that you would pick a weird location and last minute tell everybody, and they would come and just fucking go crazy, literally. Like, people would check their sanity at the door, and it wasn't that kind of bullshit, like pseudo peace and love kind of scene where everybody's pretending to be okay with everything. It was just pure, like, instinct and acting on impulse. People would come up on stage and try to hurt us. It would, and in turn, we'd have to have a couple of guys on stage to even, you know, keep us from being mutilated in the process of playing our songs. And it got to the point where Shane had gotten like a gaggle of possum, and he would dose them with all kinds of psychedelic drugs and stimulants. And I don't know how, but there is some way he infected them with rabies. And they would literally, like, open the cage and send them into the crowd, and they would just bite people's toes and fucking legs, and people would get tetanus and their jaws would lock up days later. And, like, I mean, these are the type of people that would not attempt a lawsuit. Like, they knew very well what they were coming to see, and...
Oh, it was great, you know. Dancing, fighting, blood, music, impregnating whores and then putting voodoo curses on them. Oh, yeah. We were kids.
I mean, they either loved it or they hated it, but I gotta say we probably got kicked out of more concerts than we actually finished. Whether it was for our behavior, because we just sounded like angry and raunchy and vile.
Yeah, everybody hated Death Cat because they weren't gay, they weren't lesbian, they weren't black, they weren't white. I think people hated them for what they weren't. But what they were, we're not sure.
They've always had pretty large audiences. Everybody in the audience always goes nuts for it. They love the shit. Like I remember once I remember when somebody couldn't take how awesome it was, so they covered their ears like this. And they stood there for the whole show. They didn't leave. I mean, I figured they must love it because they didn't leave, you know. And I don't know.
We're like halfway through our first song, and it's like 10 minutes in, and no one's pleased, you can obviously tell. And so we finish our song, and after, you know, the very first song, one person in the crowd goes, "One more song." Like, basically just get the fuck off stage. So, we're like, okay, one more, and we played one more, and we played for another like 10 or 15 minutes, and in the middle of the song, they fucking shut off the power so that we couldn't keep playing.
He always talked about how he really just wanted to destroy the universe, and I told him that it's not possible to destroy the universe, and I didn't understand why he had wanted to do that, but he would go on these rants to me about how one day he was going to destroy the universe, and he tried to like convince me to do it with him, but I knew the whole idea was crazy. So no, those were always very interesting conversations.
Energy as entities exist with or apart from being attached to time. When matter strips your energy to time, living creatures seem like they change. They do change with the events they go according. And the emotions are strapped along with them. You know, emotions are clearly the factor that indicates whether it's all worth it or not. You know, they add meaning or subtract it. Sometimes the emotions or other energies get strapped in off beat, causing very strange things to happen. And it puts the frame in a very awkward position. You find yourself completely separated from the rest of the creatures, and you realize that your individual entity is much more different than theirs. You sense it long before you realize it, and it makes you mad to think that you're a part of something that you're so naturally apart from. It's quite rare. In fact, it's most rare to find creatures that are aware of this, or creatures that exist so far off the charts. It's ridiculous, but they're out there.
This doesn't even smell like a spice.
It's always better to have sex with ex-girlfriend.
It's loud. Oh, what the hell is this?
Well, you don't wake up.
Why is she picking up on that?
Yeah, there was always cereal at the shows. So much cereal. Corpse Crunch, my favorite. Filled with body parts and what have you. The best part of my morning. Yeah. The cereal was good. Me and Tom, we became good friends. We always drove under the influence of something. I never remember going under a speed of at least 60. The fuck is that?
How did you join Death Cat?
There was an ad on my floor.
Shane, Joe, Tom, and sometimes Barry, they would all play shows pretty regularly, although they would always have band members or entire audiences missing. Anyone who knew who they were, they didn't want to show up. Because there was a lot of negativity and hostility, and there was weird circumstances that surrounded them and their shows. They made voodoo dolls of everyone, and they put curses on people they didn't like, and they fucked a bunch of whores. And Tom put curses on them so that they all got pregnant and then gave birth to dead babies. It was pretty bizarre shit.
Yeah, I'd hang out with the band, just have all-out fun. Fun to us was sometimes, most of the time, was stealing wine and wafers from the churches, calling them up and saying, "This is the Death Cat. We have your precious Jesus body and blood. If you ever want your Savior back, come to hell and fight us for him. And bring us chocolate shakes and Christian virgins. We'll fuck Jesus 3 days straight till he rises and comes."
May 31st of 1991. The Westland, Michigan Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints declared an official religious war on Death Cat, calling them Satan's Army Incarnate. The news broke out over state headlines and broadcasts.
Just this Monday, the Jackson County Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints has officially declared a religious war against the cult band Death Cat. The committee board, which includes area priests and pastors, has decided that after a 6-month battle with harassment, violence, and alleged church vandalism, that they were dealing with a religious war.
Death Cat and their followers are Satan's army incarnate. Blasphemy that has never been so cruel and vicious since biblical times. Violence, arson, harassment, homosexuality. They threaten to rape and kill innocent Christian men and women. They are truly evil.
Nancy Jordan reporting live from BZ9.
Although the war has not escalated to any more physical violence as of yet, local law enforcement are afraid that this will make matters worse.
Big thing going on. Like, they thought that Tom and, everybody involved with Death Cat were like some type of army of Satan. Like, they literally thought they were like the devil's army or some bullshit.
They were just saying the devil was in Death Cat and stay away from it, watch out, the devil's coming, he's here on earth.
So there were all these Christian extremist militants coming into shows with guns and crosses and shit, and priests trying to shut it down, and the band, of course, being on all kinds of drugs and just completely fucked out of their minds to begin with, would usually respond violently. One night at a basement show, one of the roadies was shot, and Joe and Barry knocked his gun, the shooter's gun, out of his hand with a broken support beam, and they started mauling him. Take his heart out! I remember Tom yelling at him, man, take his fucking heart out! This man has no pure passion for the true masterpiece. So they all tore his heart out and ate it.
Well, the church went to war with us. I found myself walking the streets, strung out of my mind with amnesia. Never really did find out what happened to my army of rabid possums.
This newfound publicity is what turned the band into an almost overnight success, from underground to commercially recognized. It was their negativity that was the very appeal to so many fans and followers. More people flocked to the live shows and bought the record that was released the same year, Anti-Existence.
I mean, I couldn't believe it when the band got hit the charts, you know what I mean? Like, what? I mean, I used to listen to that, but it's me. I met the band at Jewel. That was shopping for some milk, actually, and they were down the bread aisle, and I could hear them singing, and that's when I was like, that is glorious. At first I thought it maybe the radio at Jewel, but then I was like, wait, no, that's Justin Timberlake. So I was like, I walked over to the next aisle and stuff, and I was like, what's going on, guys? I can hear you, and stuff, and they're like,
Things started getting nuts from there on out. The band ran into a lot of conflict, which was just fire against fire. They naturally would piss everyone off, and now there were people coming out towards them with a grudge that had been provoked before anyone entered the room.
I go to a gig, all right, and I go there, and they're sitting there fucking shooting up heroin and shit, bunch of fucking drug addict losers, and I'm like, this is not how a band is supposed to be. Bands are supposed to show love and connection. They're supposed to share, you know what I mean? But no, these guys don't. They're sitting there doing fucking drugs, jumping off, punching people. You know what else they did? They ruined a fucking church. They burnt that shit fucking down. Now, what kind of evil-ass bastards would do that?
After the war was declared, we released our first written album, Anti-Existence. We went on tour. I don't remember it. We played music in hotels. I don't remember if I was there or not.
Where the hell was Fargo 5 seconds ago?
Fargo's on VHS at your local retail store. I got $5 of speedy rewards if the flakes, so I'm just gonna videotape what's going on.
Would you rather me buy you booze? It's fine.
You want to buy yourself shrooms, asshole?
I feel like a douchebag though.
Well, you are though. So
I know. Now you're using my argument against me. Come on.
Why wouldn't I?
What are you doing? Going to my cousin's house?
Blow on it. Blow on it. Blow on it.
What's wrong with you?
I want you to blow on it. How do you get lost? When did I get lost? I went on the fucking...
Well, let's see, Andrew and Elliot started to build Demo Dog 1138 on our first North American tour, which, again, I barely remember. I do remember Tom's voodoo bullshit, and I think we got some pretty good drugs on that tour.
Well, the shows in the hotels were always different than the shows in, like, venues. It's much smaller, much more violent, heavy drug use. It was honestly kind of scary, but I loved every second of it. One time, we curb stomped someone, and there wasn't even a fucking curb.
to be a roadie, the band was rocking. We used to go to these fucking concerts and just trash shit, make the police come, fucking spit in their faces, and then once the band would be getting arrested, us roadies would come up there and spit in their faces, piss on the fucking cops' faces, do all kinds of fucking shit. Sit there and shoot off fireworks. Have you ever shot a firecracker at a cop before? It's not like a real gun.
Okay, so like I thought Death Cat was a real rock and roll band that I could get like VIP access to anywhere. But the only people that listened to them were fucking sociopaths. Like, yeah, we had money, but people would harass us everywhere and they would protest shows and it was so annoying. I mean, for example, I saw the inside of a police station way more than the inside of a decent restaurant.
It's weird. It's hard to start out into that one. I remember Tom was very more than he usually would be. He was distressed and erratic, and I saw an opportunity to take advantage of his mood, and I bargained with him and said that if he gave me a hit of acid, I would help him kill or stab or kidnap or do whatever, you know, whatever he needed. So we got in his little clown car and drove over into Livonia around like 7 Mile or 6 Mile and something or other by the theater over there, the big fancy upper middle class area of town, and Tom and I snuck into the movie theater and went to watch some corny Terry Gilliam movie, and at that point I was starting to peak, so I told him after halfway through the movie, we gotta leave. The fucking images are too intense. It was not doing good for my mind. So after I convinced Tom to leave, we got back in his clown car and we drove over towards the guy's house that was causing Tom all this grief and distress. And I waited in the car because I was tripping balls on acid and it was really fucking cold out and I had slippers on. And Tom ran up the fucking street, and he couldn't really, he couldn't figure out which house was the guy's house, so he just slit a succession of tires, like 3 different houses. He just slit all the tires just to be sure, just in case, you know, you gotta compensate for things like that. You go all the way, you need to make sure you can finish the job. And then he got back in the car. We took off back to my house, and he paced around my basement for hours then talking about the same thing and just using different words and emotions to express it. And after he left, I passed out and then woke up peaking. And then I got word that Tom had been arrested for stabbing the guy that he was looking for, and he was taken to Wayne County.
I used to go to my cousin's house, and my Aunt Helen babysat a kid named Michael. He had muscle dystrophy. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but he was my age, but he looked a lot younger. And one day, I convinced my Aunt Helen to let me and him go back to my house. My mom was totally okay with it because she thought I was trying to be nice by helping the handicapped. So, we were hanging out. I believe we read a couple Goosebumps. You know, the ones that you have to choose, like, your destiny. You read them out loud, and yeah. We were doing that for a while, and maybe played video games or something. But then, I got a certain urge. So I brought him to my bedroom and I started talking about Daffy Duck. And then I started telling him about how Daffy Duck liked to touch Bugs Bunny. He agreed with me, which I thought was kind of weird. And then I asked him about his dick, but I called it a penis. Because I was young. And this kid had muscle dystrophy. And, you know, next thing I know, I'm balls deep in this kid. And, you know, I don't know about you, but when I was 9, there was no you know, fluids. It was just genitals. But I was kind of doing my thing on him. And this is complete. This is all true. Scouts on it. And I look at him and I say, "Do you want me to keep going?" And he said, "Yeah, less teeth." And so that's how I kind of learned how to start sucking dick good. You gotta put the tongue down first, you know, and just kind of like wrap your mouth around it. So thanks to this Michael with, you know, muscle dystrophy, I can suck a pretty good cock. So thanks, Mike.
No one's gonna believe that.
No, Joe loves sucking his dick. Joe was known to fit 12 dicks in his mouth at once. He called it the Dirty Dozen.
All of a sudden, this fucking possum comes up and bites me right in the fucking arm. You want to see the mark? He bit me right in the fucking arm, and I'm like, oh my God. I fell on the ground, and I started holding my hand like this, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? 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 The possum looks at me, and he goes, and I'm like, and then I had to go get fucking rabies shot.
It was a big mess. That's what it was like to live with him. He had garbage everywhere. He was obsessed with chocolate shakes, and he kind of had this thing where he would go out and dig up tombstones. And I'd wake up and they'd be all over the house. It was really gross.
The chocolate shakes, the tombstones. I never knew whose tombstones they were. I assumed they were his family's, his grandparents, uncles, I don't know. But they were heavy as shit. We had to get him into the back of his car, take him to the shows, throw them at the audience. They didn't like that. They don't know anything.
Fucking late at night, Tom gets this huge ass tombstone. And we're all fucking messed up on peyote and shit like that. And he's dragging this tombstone in by himself, actually. He told us to fuck off, and we just watched him drag this big ass tombstone in. And I think it belonged to I think Elizabeth Bathory, that was it. And yeah, we brought it in, and he put it in the bed next to Becca, and she like rolled over, started stroking the tombstone, and still thought it was Tom. What a stupid bitch.
War Against the Living era. They would do these crazy acid shows that would never work out. Either they'd get in trouble, or no one would show, or they'd be too fucked up to set shit up straight and play their own.
With my star in the grave, man. I play with my egos. I play with my sabers. I'm gonna make some eggs. I'm gonna make some eggs, some bacon, and I'm gonna staple them to your face, and then I'm gonna make your face like a dog. I'm gonna wire it in like a dog. I'm gonna fly.
He was just too far gone. Him and everyone else he was with. I don't know why we stayed married for over a month. I didn't do as many drugs as him, and I never got into that weird voodoo shit. I was into fashion and money. That was the connection we had outside of a physical relationship. After a while, he let himself go. I mean, the castle was always a mess. I mean, this one time, him and this homeless guy crashed a car into the wall. They never fixed it. There's this giant hole in the wall. He never fixes it. He pours water on our computers. He pees on walls. Who pees on walls? I mean, and his friends were always over, and they were talking, and I never knew what they were talking about. Ugh.
In the spring of 1992, Tom and longtime crime partner and friend of Dark Magic formed a commune that would mostly reside within the woods of southeast Michigan. They titled it Nothing.
The band was taking lots of acid and drugs in general after Anti-Existence came out. They were into this strange voodoo branch that who knows where it developed. It was some branch of hoodoo and Jamaican voodoo. They were selling and making psychedelics. Acid, Molly, X, growing mushrooms. They were dealing stuff that they were now doing in excess. Not like coke and pot, you know, like before Death Cat formed, but these psychedelics to their friends and followers.
I tried to ignore it because he was just making me really upset at the stuff he was doing.
Mm-hmm. Doing that voodoo stuff.
Oh yeah, that's crazy stuff they were doing.
Yeah, black magic.
Yeah.
So after Kill Attack, after we went our separate ways, me and Jade, we formed a new band. It was called Tyranitar for a sec. We changed it to Dead and Gone, and at about that time, Tom was forming Death Cat, and we were all pretty surprised at it because it was pretty fucking weird. And you know, we first heard it on the radio. Actually, it was on Channel 955, Today's Hits, and we were like, this is some weird shit. But it became a hit. They became a hit, and then like once they got into that, they started getting into like I said, like cult shit. Like they were doing voodoo and all these fucking weird ass shit, and like they kept getting arrested, you know, because they were like killing like people and kids and babies and all this shit. So like it got weird, and they kept going to jail, and then they were just like letting them out. I don't know why they were letting them out since they killed a bunch of people, but you know they were. And then like we just kind of didn't talk to them during that point in time, like you know, because they were fucking weird. So you know, after a while we started you know, talking to them again, and we would do shows with them, and we did like a world tour with them, and it was pretty cool. And, you know.
The cult had no objective. They had objectives that changed. They varied. They'd all sit around and go, hey, we should have a POG tournament. And the loser has to egg the winner who has to steal a car stereo. Or hey, let's figure out immortality. Or how many bodies fit under the old farmhouse? Or hey, you guys want to start gluing old books together? Just random shit with no purpose.
I mean, at first they were just like, you know, big orgies and parties, but then, you know, there's fires and somebody who always had to get pushed into the fire because, you know, somehow it was all comical at the time. It was so surreal. It was just a big play that we were all a part of. And then the play always had this tragic part to it. Always had this drama, this element of surprise, but also, you know, we were all just naked around the fire, and then it's just the human nature. It's just nature had to be violent, and we were trying to explore what it all meant. You know, we had these laser beams coming out of our foreheads, and we could sculpt whatever we want out of flesh and dirt. And
The universe is going to destroy itself. You know, look at us, we're humans, we destroy the earth, we're chaotic creatures, we're nothing, we're disgusting, we're vile scum, we're insects literally crawling on this earth. It's meant to be destroyed, and eventually we will all destroy ourselves, either through war, through some form of disease, or through some bullshit. You know, we're already destroying the nature, we're already destroying everything. You know, might as well have fun with the chaos, go crazy with it.
I don't know how to put it, like kind of like an anarchist like community, but it wasn't even like there was no communication. So that was like really the weird thing about it, is it couldn't be anarchist because it didn't even go so far to define like what, like, you know, humanity was.
And son along with Nesquik, 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 and son along with Nesquik!
What about the cornfields? I don't know anything about no cornfields. I stay away from cornfields. I don't go to cornfields. If I go to cornfields, I hope I'm going to sleep quickly and waking up and getting the hell out of there at dawn.
August 9th, 1969. Tomcat sent 4 of the Nothing Cult members to kill the Terrible Twos at their practice space in Hamtramck, Michigan. The popular pop group the Danny Phantoms were using the practice space that night and were brutally murdered in the occult ritual.
Tom was always trying to get Death Cat put onto big Detroit record labels that had similar bands to their style. They sounded much different. They had entirely different approach to creating music.
But he used to talk with Chris from the Terrible Twos about getting shows and doing a split, just hanging out, you know. I think he was genuinely fascinated with the music at first, but he was a busy guy and kind of left it on hold. And Tom and Joe took it as a personal blow. I mean, not just personally, but musically non-respectful as well, which was the same thing for them. If you didn't respect the music, you didn't respect them.
3 months later, on November 13th, 1969, the Detroit police force barged into a Death Cat live show that had received some complaints at the IROC Lounge. Tom, his 4th wife Lauren, Shane Seth Connor, and various cult members were arrested for a series of warrants. Charged with first-degree murder of the Danny Phantoms were Alex Brown, Andrew Harvey, R.J. Rickenbach, and Shane Seth Connor. Second-degree murder charges went against Tom and Lauren, his 4th wife.
The Danny Phantoms, man, God, they were a good band. Good fucking band. And then Death Cat fucking killed them. Like, and it wasn't even the right band that they killed either. I mean, come on, you guys are out there in your fucking log cabin with your voodoo dolls out in the swamp like you think it's fucking Louisiana or something. You're sitting out there and shit, killing people, and then you hear about this band that's doing so great, hitting the fucking charts, rocking the world, and you fucking kill them? It wasn't even the right band that they're supposed to kill.
Lauren Cat escaped prison, being originally hired by the CIA to expose the cult. She had ended up marrying the leader and partaking in the ceremonies of anti-existence.
Once I regained soberness, I realized I was sick of the drug use, sick of living in chaos, sick of being hated by everyone, sick of harvesting souls, and absolutely sickened by the blood orgies. I filed for divorce. The CIA eventually got me out, but it took them quite some time before they actually came and killed me.
The war against loving Slash. Nothing days were pretty strange. I remember one of the first times I went to go stay with Alex in the woods. There he was, with Andrew and Tom. And they were just drinking chocolate milkshakes, surrounded by nothing.
So, what's going on here?
What's going on here? Did you just ask what's going on here?
I do believe I did.
What could be going on here? Because I think that anything that is in my possible imagination of the future or the past or any hypothetical situation could possibly be, or is already if you consider the fact that it's in my imagination, because everything that was in my imagination was at some point, and that means that it is, right? So anything could be going on here. And that means, wait, if anything could be going on here, then nothing could be going on here, right? That's what's going on here. I think nothing is going on here.
Just enjoying these chocolate shakes. Chocolate shakes. That's all that's going on. So there's not really any need to be asking any questions now. Isn't that right?
Left, don't see left, east, the other way, that way, anywhere.
Oh, hello there, cat. Well, I suppose that'll... well,
No! It's a poor mouse.
Oh, gee.
So my appetite you're going after now, isn't it? Huh? Whose stomach is going and whose side?
Shut up! If you meant left, if you really meant left, then you would be on our left side, but if you're in our...
Which side would you say you were on? Any side at all? Whose side was anybody's side?
Oh, you're on my left
Don't mind if I don't. Say you're not still trying to go somewhere, but outside of anywhere now, are you? I told her that sense of direction was completely absurd. We forgot this man's years.
What the fuck is going on?
Oh, here we go with the questions again. What's going on here? What's not going on here?
An answer for a change.
So, she would if she knew where she was going.
She knows exactly where she's going. She's going right where she is here and not. She's just going in circles now, trying to make a square. I bet you can.
Hey, Austin, can you give me some rolls?
Live! Assassination gets a very bad rep in America. People remember MLK, they remember JFK, they remember LMNOZ. But the thing about those guys is, those assassins fucked up. If they were good, you wouldn't even know they died. They'd just be like, bam, gone. And like replace, like a pod person, I think is the scientific term. They grow them from seeds, yeah, a pod person. The JFK's problem is the pod person wasn't ready. He was full grown and everything, had the suit, but the hair, they couldn't get the hair right. So they figured it'd be better if he just died. So and then from now on, you can't assassinate anybody without people throwing a big fit. Assassination is a legitimate part of the political process. And as a band that is commenting on society, I would argue that Death Cat has become a political candidate, and therefore, all is fair game. All is fair game in love, war, and politics. So, we send these guys with their cyanide teeth. You think the cyanide teeth is for the assassin to swallow when he gets caught? No, no, no. Actually, he just spits it off. He spits it off into the target's mouth, preferably in a kiss. And then they've got the cyanide. And the assassin doesn't need it anymore because he's done. He doesn't care if he gets caught. So, and Archduke Ferdinand, God, don't even get me started on those guys.
Fuck Death Cat, man. I remember this one day, I was walking down the street, and this girl came up to me, and she's like, hey, do you know who Death Cat is? I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. She's like, wow, you look like exactly like the singer. It's crazy. And then she handed me this flyer to go watch a show of theirs. And I went to that show, and it was the worst fucking day of my life. It was the worst decision I've ever made. I should never have gone. After that, it's like Death Cat haunted me. Everywhere I went, Death Cat, Death Cat, Death Cat. I started getting pulled over by cops because I thought I was Tom, wanted for murder. It's like, what the fuck do you want? It's like, I didn't do anything. It's like, I'm Austin. Like, I'm this other, you know, I'm not Tom. It tossed drums out of the windows, it recorded that, and then took a guitar and, I don't know, humped it or something like that, and then took a keyboard and rolled a bowling ball across it while Tom was screaming, and they called it music. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Stupid nihilists and junkies. That's it.
Focus has always been, you know, trying to fucking destroy existence. Just trying to fucking enjoy things for what they are. Creating fear in general. The fucking, you know, the shadow figures. Fear just makes us so much more powerful. And it was pretty funny for a while, because you know, the more fear that goes towards these objects, the more power you give them. And one of my only fears, one of my biggest fears, was myself, my capabilities.
People are a plague. There's no doubt that humanity is coming to an end, and it's just a matter of how. Be it nuclear war or us.
Like, I have no idea what was going on the entire time I was in the band.
But it did really good for a while. People really got behind it, throwing bowling balls all over the place, smashing people's knees. It actually caused a riot in New York, I hear. Some fucking apartment building burnt to the ground, and some crazy black man was chanting Death Cat's name.
Tom brought a banana to court. He had thought that he was going to hypnotize the judge into letting them go. He ended up throwing the banana at the judge, which got him in a great deal of trouble. And when he was asked why he did it, he said he was trying to hypnotize them with the banana. And it got him sent to a mental asylum.
Trial went on forever, right? And then one day, Shane shows up at court already. First off, boy's already drunk off his ass. Completely intoxicated, out of his mind. Like, it was ridiculous. You can actually smell the alcohol as he walks down the aisle towards the booth to testify. And then while he's sitting there, you see something in his shirt moving. It kind of looked like he was trying to stuff a cat or something up his shirt. Then next thing you know, breaks out this possum. Possum starts foaming out of the mouth, starts attacking everyone, attacks a security guard, scratches up his face, bites him a couple times, tries to attack the judge. Everything is chaotic. People are screaming, and he gets dragged away with handcuffs. Like, you know, it's a Death Cat trial. Don't expect anything less or anything more than that.
The Spumoni Brothers Mafia was in shambles at the time as well, dealing with the re-emergence of the Mole People. Therefore, Tom and Shane remain trapped in the system, as Osef fled to Father's Church to repent.
Issues with the Mole People were resurfacing, literally.
Fuck the Mole People.
Fuck
the Mole People.
Yeah, fuck the Mole People.
Fuck the Mole People.
I told them, don't mess with the Mole People. You can't trust them. They're not family. You can't trust the Mole People. Look what happened. They took all the weapons. They're killing us. I don't know what to do anymore. I told Gino. I told Tony. None of them can stop the Mole People.
The Mole People were enemies back in the bathroom days.
Radioactive Rat was a hired assassin mutant homeless man created by the Mole People to destroy Death Cat. They were pissed off over the failure of the Silver Sidewalk Mafia to help them establish territory above ground in Detroit for over 20 years. Therefore, they launched the anti-Death Cat campaign.
Everything was going good until one day, we got in a fight. It was actually a client that we used to sell the fake drugs to, and he was pissed. It was actually Steven Seagal himself, and he's a badass, right? So all 8 of us are fighting him. It took about 2 to 3 hours. We finally killed him. We cut off his arms and his legs and shit, and then we put him in like bags. And then we took him to the Mole People who, can get rid of shit. And they did. They got rid of the body. So we started like hooking up with the Mole People. They liked us. We liked them. They were unaware that Tom's dad was like in their rival gang thing. So at this time, they really, you know, they didn't know, so they didn't care. And then they found out, so then we had to like leave them because they were pissed.
Oh, the mole people, it's a completely different story, but once I was laying in the backyard, I put my ear to the ground, and I heard the sounds of what I thought were hell. You know, people screaming and shit. So I dug like a couple feet down, and I fell through a roof and smashed a family of mole people, and that's when I found out there's mole people under there, and they're not fucking around. Like, they come out at night. Anything that's missing out of your house, you don't know where it went, it fucking goes under the ground. And they're building a society out of this shit. And they don't want our trash either, because they know it's trash and you can't fool them. You know, it's like, this is still fucking trash, so they'll take your valuables. You better start locking them up.
Well, I don't know what happened. I'm not going. I tried to disengage myself from him and pretend like I didn't know him. I divorced him in my mind. He's not my son because he's doing evil things. My son doesn't kill people, and I think that was wrong. And I don't think it was right to pretend like they were doing voodoo and all that stuff, because I'm a Christian and I believe in God and Jesus Christ. So, Guy, were you following that stuff on the news?
Well, yeah, he went to court, and then he tried to hypnotize the judge with some banana or some crazy thing like that.
Did it work?
Yeah,
Did he get off? He got off, didn't he?
Yeah, then it was following.
Oh, they thought he was crazy. That's when he got put into the mental institution.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Because they thought he was just nuts.
Well, that just increased his popularity, because, you know.
We met in the asylum, and I was foggy. I was in there due to overdosing and trying to kill my family because I was so, I mean, I'm not a horrible person. Not really. Like, I wouldn't purposefully try to kill my family unless I was on a plate full of pharmaceuticals, and that happened to be the case that night. I was younger too, so I didn't have much sense. Not as much as I do now, at least. And I wound up, and I was, there's a DARE officer from when I was a little kiddie in middle school, and he's a crooked police officer, and he snorts cocaine with the students' parents and fucking hits on the little girls and touches their little triangle boobies and fucking... He came to my house that night when all this shit happened, the domestic disturbance, and as the police were pulling out of, like, getting me away from my family, and, like, they took my pipe away. I had a big, nice pipe that you could open up and store weed in, and they took it and I fucking snatched it back. Like, fuck you, don't steal my weed, and I hit it, and then they took it back from me. And then I saw that DARE officer. I'm like, this guy's fucking crooked. He does coke and sleeps with underage girls. And I was just screaming it at the top of my lungs as they carried me out of my house. And, like, the police officers, like, didn't know what to make of it because they knew it was true. And, like, I was just making a scene. They were, like, looking at my little homemade prison tattoos and telling me it was self-mutilation, and it was like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning. I don't really know. I'm like, oops. But after all that shit happened, like, go to the hospital, clean up my wounds, fucking go to the sanitarium and do the opening fucking thing, and then they put me in a room with Tom, and I couldn't sleep, so I went and watched TV in the recreation room. They gave me privileges, just like my parents did. My parents gave me too many privileges, and I abused them. And so did the people at the sanitarium, and I abused them too. It just goes to show you shouldn't give me anything, because I'll abuse it. And so when I finally got around to getting back to the room and settling in, I didn't plan on staying very long, so I would not necessarily, like, put my clothes in the drawers or make myself situated. I had no intention of being there long whatsoever. And I was in for a rude awakening. I mean, not to mention you're confused, you're totally out of your mind on shitloads of fucking drugs, benzodiazepines and psychedelics and fucking who knows what else. I really couldn't tell you. So after all that harassment and bullshit and haranguing, I'm like fucking riled up. I'm not okay. And I'm put in a room with Tom. And it's like putting vinegar and baking soda in the thing. Like, they put us in the white room. We did not get along at first. We didn't know what to make of each other. It's like when you put two dogs in a room and they don't fucking sniff each other's ass quite properly and they don't get acquainted. Like, we were not okay with each other. But then, slowly, we realized Tom and I were about the close thing we were going to find to somebody relatable. So we eventually just took it in stride and began to formulate a plan subconsciously. It was something you wouldn't even talk about. We just were in the same situation. We knew we did not want to be there long. We're not going to sit there and take it lying down.
Let me tell you something about the Byzantine Empire. Rome split into two, West and East. And West died, got swallowed up by Goths from Hot Topic. Very, very tragic. But the East, they lived, they thrived. Want to know why they thrived? Because they destroyed their art. Art is a distraction. It distracts from God. It distracts from your life. It distracts from clean, good old honest, clean living. They destroyed it all. Look for Byzantine art, you can't find it. It's all smashed. That's all fake. What you see in the museum, that's fake. That was painted in 1936 by not Pablo Picasso, but like his friend Denise Richard. Pablo Picasso's friend Denise Richard painted all. Okay, so they destroyed their art. It's called iconoclasm. You just take everything, put in one big pile over there, and you're cold at night and nothing's keeping you warm. Why don't you burn your paintings and your records? It just makes sense, guys. Makes perfect sense. This stuff is trash, and we get trash from Windsor anyway, right? We're rolling in trash. You drive down 94, all you see is trash hills.
This guy was crazy. I was like convinced, like, this guy's crazy. Like, he is not all right in the head. And I was like, wait, I like that about him. I was like, I like that he's not all right in the head because I'm not all right in the head. And what kabam! We were instantly connected. We were not all right in the head, but we connected, you know, in a way that was like so unlike any other.
Those guys, and they throw a Molotov cocktail right into the Renaissance Center. And now what you're thinking, Renaissance Center is not there. Yeah, it is. It's like, it appears once every 100 years, and it got stuck. It got stuck in its phantom rotation because of those guys. So this thing, it lands over what used to be Black Bottom, Detroit's ghetto, and just crushes all these people. This phantom magic building, and it's ugly too. It's like, Chrysler. I don't even know people. So it crushes all these people, and that's what started the riots. It's because of Death Cat, his rabbit fans, his rabid rabbits, as we call them in the biz, and so that's what really happened in Detroit, summer of '68.
Well, after Tom and Alex got out, they came to the Spumoni brothers to come break me out. So I only ended up having to serve 6 months.
Tom got us out of jail, like, cause he had connections with the mafia, and like, I also gotta, like, you know, you gotta keep in mind that, like, the Mole people were still, like, they had kind of, like, you know, resurfaced, like, so far as, like, I don't know, their opposition to us goes. So, but the mafia was, like, on our side, so we had, like, protection. And like we know that if like we stayed in like the jails long enough, then like we would have gotten killed by the fucking Mole people. That's probably what it would have come down to.
Well, I had not much else going on for myself at the time, so it was more than an honor to join Death Cat and start playing synth, especially because I was not accustomed to that type of style of music. Like, I was still pretty closed-minded when it came to almost everything. So to try something new was refreshing. It was almost the most crazy thing I could do. Most satisfying, wrong. It felt wrong to try something new, so I tried something new. And it took a while for ourselves to get used to playing music together, because I'm much more melodic, and I'm not so used to improvising and making it more of a performance than like having set songs, and it taught me much about music to play with somebody like Tom and Death Cat. And eventually it didn't seem so much like I was just temping, or I was like, it felt like more of a brotherly, bandly experience. So we'd become comfortable enough to divulge secrets and formulate plans to carry out all kinds of nefarious acts. And Tom is always one of the kind of people that never judged me for my behavior or my love of narcotics, for just basically doing what I like to do.
With a new nutjob thug on synth keyboards, a jail-freed mobster returned on drums, and the criminal mastermind behind the mic, and a motherfucking robot playing itself, Death Cat returned to the studio and to plague Europe.
Believing in failure, professional being so realistically manipulating the GP. Party on the place, taking that surrender and locked to the street, see where it's heading. Finish the man's way, for the system, from out the living, kick back to the finish the man's way, for the next land. Some of the assassins, sure what happened, sees the last and for good evidence. Some of the assassins, on the women, and we will not take it. Organization was not maximizing the sense of toughness of living to the point of Thanksgiving. Destroying on death, they taking us to their head. Locked away up streets, we see blood was kicking. Finishing the man's leg, walk on the Benjamin. Some of us are living in my continent. Finishing the man's leg, walk on the Benjamin. Some of the assassins who are going to happen. Some blood masters.
One time, when we were driving, we came up to City Hall. You know, big glass front, really artistic. Drove straight through the fucking plate glass. It was awesome. We made it to the library, I think. I remember books. Maybe it was a children's bookstore, maybe it was a elementary school. I don't fucking know. There were bodies. It was always fun. There was a carnival, and the carnies tried to stop the car. Oh, those dumb carnies. Exploded. Good times.
Alright, this is Static Nothing Machine here with Death Cat at one of their first shows in nearly a year. How are you guys doing?
What?
How are you guys doing?
Not.
So after the year, I heard you guys were accused of murders. Is that true?
No. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. We were accused, but we didn't kill anybody. We just the Spumoni brothers got it all worked out. I think. Here comes somebody to tell us we can't be here right now.
How do you describe your fan bases?
We don't have one. Stupid. Our fans don't really listen to our music. They kind of just show up and they just show up for drugs, pretty much.
And to hurt us and other people.
Yeah,
that's why we have the posse.
I think they like the posses though. I think they show up for the posse.
Yeah, this guy's always got the posses. It's like a petting zoo, but like a petting zoo from hell. So yeah, we don't have any fans.
How do you think your audience will respond to your new show?
They won't. They'll hate it just the same. Maybe. Probably. They probably miss manipulations.
Why are you guys a band?
We're not.
So I
What are some of the reactions from the other bands that you play with?
They love us. They love us. I don't think anybody, like, we're going on tour alone this time. Nobody will play with us anymore for some reason. There's a lot of violence that breaks out on a lot of shows. I think Mr. Miracle is the only band that's so willing to tour with us. We're going on a tour in Europe and Canada. And well, I don't know if we're gonna be able to tackle the States. We're probably just Mr. Miracle.
I see you have a robot in your band. What's up with that?
Synthesizer. Demo Dog 1138. Let him speak for himself, I guess.
There's some rumors that you have a chocolate addiction. What can you tell me about that?
Among others.
Specifically, chocolate shakes.
Yes. I do.
Okay. What can we expect from Death Cat now that you guys are back?
Nothing.
Yeah, after that single, we just went out every night, got sluts and bitches and all the heroin we wanted. It was seriously a fucking field day. We even bought off of Bela Lugosi once, which is really fucking cool. Like, I never thought I'd meet the man, but, you know, there he was, even though he died a long time ago.
Lying in his coffin.
Lying in his coffin. We had to go to his fucking cemetery and buy it from him. But who knew that he was buried with, like, 500 kilos of cocaine? I don't even know if that could be buried with a person, but yeah, it was really tight. I shook his hand. He has tiny little hands, but you know, we laid in his grave with him. We took pictures. I mean, he didn't show up in any of the shots, but vampires.
Saturday, March 29th, 1933. Tomcat was rushed to St. Lucifer's Hospital from a deadly overdose on chocolate milkshakes.
It was a devastating blow for everybody when he was found in that condition. We had to call in paramedics. They didn't think he'd make it. That much chocolate in one person is the worst day of my life.
That was a lot of chocolate shakes. Like, it really got out of hand. He just had this huge chocolate shake one night, and I swear to God, it was bigger than I was, and Tom drank the whole fucking thing.
I told him to stick with strawberry for a while, but he just didn't listen.
Bleeding a lot of chocolate syrup, which made it kind of messy. I couldn't stop licking him, though. Like, all the time that I was driving him to the hospital, he was right next to me, just bleeding out, and I just kept leaning over and licking his chest. I got him to the emergency room, though, and those doctors looked really hungry at that point.
While Tom recovered, word sprung up about Osif doing stand-up comedy at local church youth groups in the area.
They had all this money from touring in Europe, and they put it all into this project. I don't remember what it was called, but they were having some scientists construct some type of atom splicer. And they thought they would be able to splice other dimensions together and splice them apart. I don't know. It was ridiculous. But they spent $1 million on it, not to mention like 3 years of their time talking about it.
Blew all of their shit on, it was this really cheap, like, they were like communicating with like some physicists, like some of the guys who headed, I mean, like, you know, it was early, like fucking the 70s, but like some of the guys who were heading experimentation in nuclear research, particularly like in regards to like nuclear reactions. But
after the divorce, I helped the band for 3 years to complete their quartz splicer, the machine Verno 42. It basically was supposed to fuse other dimensions together, but it didn't quite work out exactly as planned.
The creators, as well as the band and team of scientific engineers, constructed Verno 42, and fusing began on September 3rd, 2013. The objective was not completed in functional materialization and proper analog unformatting. We voided continuation and played shows across the 54 AM galaxy on May 6, 2011.
On December 1st, 2009, the band went in to record their second written studio album. The band had stopped talking to fans, family, friends, and even each other during the recording session.
When the band was writing Submit to Nothing, they were definitely going through some very strange antisocial behavior. Not just from cult members and fans, but with each other. I want to say there was some significant loss in there somewhere.
It was really weird because, you know, we were all still eating acid and still waiting for Gato di Morte to tell us to do more of their rituals, but it's like they disappeared, to be honest. Like, no one had contact with any of them. No one had, not even their families had contact with them. It's literally like they disappeared off the face of the earth.
Oh, they disappeared, right.
Where did Il Gato del Morte go?
The shows were completely worn out, spectacular. I even got to interview them for a television show.
I need to say to you that just what it is. Don't just put the phone out, feel the phone out. It's like just the whole bit of such entertainment. Wish the man all I want to do for the big job. I'm bracing up and I'm going to bring about. Think it's like I'm it all about. Research for the future, take the blue out. Time to make some places to get to love. Find the British goodies, straight to me, know that I just quit. Anybody at you in a trick, a minute I'm gonna slap it! Taking the crazy shit out of all, living the rave, take down the soul, into the universe, let's go vibrate it, place our time to the summer, singing the place that it's made to, space. It's around my appetite, I don't know swim mind. I'm just going inside, chest inside. It's my trust and I'm a poison. What is it, a giant electrolyte? This is the leading cause of death. What's on a hunt to get on the planet sands, tobacco breath.
Yeah, so they went on this space tour. And I don't know if they got lost or what. Death Cat was gone. And they came back as Superband. That's when they came back in their glitter phase. They came back with the hair all teeth real high, covered in galactic stardust. And, yeah, it was a new era for Death Cat. I guess they just reinvented themselves in space.
I don't fucking know this question. I see that you drink quite a lot of chocolate milk. I was wondering, are you addicted to chocolate milk?
Who the fuck are you, Mr. Cat? I mean, so many cats. Do I look like I'm addicted? I'm not addicted. You can't be addicted to fucking chocolate. It's not like it's a drug or anything. It's not like coffee or cocaine comes from the same fucking plant. No, I'm not fucking addicted, and no, you can't have any.
All I'm saying is that the entire time we've been here, you've been drinking chocolate milk. I mean, and that was since 7 a.m. this morning.
Maybe if the fucking milkshake machines were working over at the fucking restaurants, we wouldn't have this issue.
Are you concerned about getting diabetes?
Diet who?
Alright, I'll move and bring it over to the...
You never heard of anyone ODing off chocolate milk?
That's true, I've never personally heard about it, but I have heard of children getting diabetes from drinking far too much chocolate milk. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'd say it's fucking worth it. If diabetes is the consequence of enjoying your fucking life, more power to thee.
And what about you? Would you drink chocolate milk for every meal the rest of your life if it gave you diabetes?
No, it's a child's drink. You got a problem with chocolate milk now, Joe, huh? You have a fucking Joe has many problems. Shit! I lost my fucking...
Have we been recording this?
We have.
Hang on.
Diet.
Now, are you as big a fan of chocolate milk as this man over here is?
You know, I'm not actually. I don't drink a whole lot of chocolate milk, and you know, honestly, seeing him struggle with his chocolate milk problem really just makes me want to drink less.
Fuck you
You
guys.
admit that he has a problem.
You know, I admit that he has a problem, but you know, it's not about me, you know, deciding for him whether he has a problem or not. You know, it's something that he has to come to terms with on his own.
Well, there you have it. Death Cat's frontman is addicted to chocolate milk. Hey, folks, alright, well, let's keep rolling. What was that?
Die!
That's all we have here today. I'm Professor Catting Something-ting, and this has been a television show. Thank you.
Oh, it has. It has been a television show.
I do not have a fucking problem, you fucking cat. Fucking piece of shit. I got milk in my hair.
There's milk in his hair.
What happens when they make shit out of high fucking quality?
In his hair. If that's not a problem, I don't know what is. That was fun.
Who is fighting with Shadow?
The turkeys? What turkeys? This turkey? This turkey here, I beat some little kid in a race today, and I mean, I didn't beat him running. I beat him to death to get this sucker. Now I got the mashed potato turkey mile down.
These possums would crawl off the legs of the audience members and ram their heads into the buttholes. Of course, I always watched the shows from the ceiling, so I was never forcibly enter one of these creatures. However, I shaved a few and kept them in the backyard.
Is that all you have?
The garden.
Yeah, you can definitely not see it. In the camera you can, but in the... It'll show up in the wall,
One season they went on tour through alleyways, garbage dumps across America. They weren't supposed to legally be living within the states, so they passed out flyers to homeless shelters and on garbage cans. And they played for some rats and I guess hobos, and kids would find them in alleyways doing acoustic sets on top of old couches and dumpsters.
That was mostly alleyways and abandoned buildings, dumpsters. Mostly just rodents showed up, eating out of the garbage. They were fun. That was the second rabid possum I befriended. Met him in a dumpster. He was just chilling. I pet him. It was nice. The goddamn peanut butter.
Although they weren't heavy in hobos at this time. It was, it was a little early, but, they always had a following in the hobo community.
So the band had to play outside for the U.S. because their shows couldn't go on legally within the U.S. of A. They toured around Canada, where Tom and Shane were actually residing now. Then they went to Europe and they played the Ukraine, Bosnia, and, stuff like that. They spent about a month in Russia, where they were some of the best performances I've ever seen.
Joe's nowhere to be found. None of us have really lived above ground in years. All you put it in your own hand, drank it out, vomited it back into your thought projection, slipped, keep snorting each fucking word off of each line. You're not even doing the lines, you're doing the words off the sheet of paper. How could it have never have been before if it wasn't? Is it just these visuals? Is that all that's not happening here? Well, what do we have here?
It was an interesting experience because it felt like I was burning for a hell of a lot longer than I was, and that's true. A hell of a lot longer. It was pretty intense because I felt like I don't know. It reminded me of DMT. It definitely reminded me a lot of DMT. There wasn't really any dimensional cognizance as much as there was this sensation of burning and moving in every direction at the same time. It was all of this energy that was concentrated into one spot, and then there was just kind of music spontaneously combusted.
When Death Cat marketed the dirt and sold it, and it was the hottest selling item of the entire year, as I'm told. People threw out their chia pets because, quite frankly, they were rather gay at that point. A little outdated, but people got the pot, they took the Death Cat soil, and when they watered it for 1 to 2 days, trolls would sprout out. And as I remember, the trolls could cause a little bit of damage, but people didn't care because they were so cute.
I was walking down the road one day, and I'm like, it was really hot, and I'm like, I really need something to eat. And I can hear the ice cream truck drive by, and so I'm like, oh, ice cream man. So I run up there and that stuff, and the ice cream man gives me a snickerdoodle, and I'm like, this is gonna be delicious. So I'm standing there and about to get my treat, and all of a sudden this person just comes up, smacks the shit out of the ice cream man, spits in my face, pushes me to the ground. He had 2 other guys with him. Pushes me to the ground. At this point in time, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I am just in a whirlwind of adventure. And I smack to the fucking ground, get kicked in the face. Somebody pulls their dick out and starts pissing on me. You know who it was? Fucking Death Cat. I'm like, are you... They hop in the fucking ice cream truck, throw the ice cream guy out, and drive away, screaming, out of control, insanely. And I'm like, what? And then I just lay there without fucking snickerdoodle. And all I really remember is Tom saying right before he left, the snickerdoodle is not worthy for your hands.
Taking over your minds.
No resistance.
Your hatred and fear only make us stronger.
Now get the fuck out of here before we destroy you again. Going up and the same.
What the fuck?
Destiny lays unbound before the tips of your little boy digits and vibrations in waveform overwhelm your tactile world.
Oh, who you trying to kid here, huh? Who you trying to kid? What is this bullshit? Huh?
It's in your bones.
What were you thinking? What the fuck were you thinking?
It's in the tips
what
of
is
your
this?
digits.
What is this? He's out this whole way? Come on, tell us the answer. Tell us the answer. We want to hear the truth. We want to hear the truth. How can we ever trust you again? Don't just flush on and flush off like me. Like, don't flush at us like that. Think you're better than us? What is this bullshit? It's bullshit. What is this? What am I catching you in here with? Huh? What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Who sent you? You're a fucking spy, aren't you? Come on, tell us the truth. You're a spy, aren't you?
I'm not in the little box, I'm over here. I'm not in the little box, I'm over here. I'm not in the little box, I'm over here. I'm not in your TV, I'm in your brain. I'm in your skull. What's suddenly cracking now? I'm in your brain. What's happening now? Games. We're just playing games here. We're just having fun, aren't we? Aren't we? Just don't think that one thought. It might come back and stay with you for an eternity.
Why would the robot be able to? And you know what else? You know what else?
No, I don't.
And then I became the devil, and now I am.
So, and I went to that guy that I thought was God inside of me, and he was fighting with me, and I was like,
this is what you get. This is what you get.
The camera is not real.
We play drums with hammers.
Can I see that? Yeah. Connor wanted, you know, when he spray painted the,
not real. I'm talking to you. Your ears don't. You're looking for scummy bags.
Death Cat went into their own studio at Castle Nothing to record their third written and final album, Guardera la Morte in Faccia. It was June of 2003 when the album was released. They then, with court ties being knotted up and away, attempted another US tour.
We're free. We're going on tour throughout the United States and Canada. We're attempting to do our first U.S. tour in nearly 5 years. Guardera la Morte in Faccia. Guardera la Morte in Faccia is the last Death Cat album. It's in comic book form about how we re-emerge from the dead and destroy existence, and it's based on a true story. Look, there's a guy with a knife in front of the camera. What the fuck is going on? Look, there's a guy with a knife in front of the camera. What the fuck is going on? Look, there's a guy with a knife in front of the camera. What the hell is going on? Look, there's a guy with a knife in front of the camera. What the fuck is going on? Just cutting some bananas.
The last show they did, that was crazy. Honestly, it was. I was there and I was like, I wasn't gonna go, and then I was like, you know what? It's their last hurrah. I need to go to this. So I go on that stuff, and just like it always was, Death Cat style, shit starts fucking starting on fire. Crazy thing. Here's something. These kids come in. I mean, they weren't even old kids. Probably 14, 13. Come with these fucking artillery, man. Just start shooting the place up. I'm diving, I'm hitting the deck, people are getting shot, brains are exploding all over the bar. And I'm just like, sitting there like wondering what is going on. You know what I mean? And like, I'm like, oh my God. And I look over and Tom is just sitting there grooving it out. These kids are committing homicide, murder, bloody fucking murder to all these wonderful people, and Tom is sitting there screaming and yelling, and just like the band used to. And I was like, this is it! I am done! Fuck this band!
The final tour of Death Cat went pretty swimmingly, if I might add. a lot of people died, which was kind of cool, actually. We started riots across the U.S. We actually provided all the weapons for them, too. So, yeah, always on the last song, everyone started bringing out their gats and shit and started throwing hand grenades. Started killing each other, blowing up each other's heads and shit like that. I remember distinctly that there was a hippopotamus that someone brought to the show, and it started trampling all over everybody's nuts. Just, even if they didn't have nuts, they would step on their vages, and a lot of people tried to sue us, but we unleashed killer ninja elephants. And don't ask me how elephants could be ninjas, they just did. We hired them in peanuts. They went to people's houses, and whoever tried to fucking sue us, they died like a little piggy. But yeah, it was really cool. A lot of daughters were lost. I tried to have some sex with the random people in the audience, but the hippo just got to him first.
Yeah, there was word that there was a bunch of violence and shooting and killing at their shows. Every Death Cat show I went to, we all held hands and cried. It was very therapeutic. I don't know if it was just the shows that I was at. I don't know if that's what Minneapolis is like all the time. But yeah, we all just hugged and we had a wonderful time. We loved one another.
Tom was not okay with how everybody was okay with Death Cat. I mean, I don't think Tom was looking for people to think they could understand what he was doing. Not necessarily that. More like add to what he was doing. Like, it was almost an insult to him. And I mean, this may just be my opinion, but I feel like I know what I'm talking about, even though a lot of times I really don't. But in this case, Tom was a very irritable person, a very erratic person, and a lot of times, like, you had no idea what his motives were. Like, you'd think everything was okay, and then I'd wind up stranded at some place, and I would have to fucking have sex and give blowjobs to old men just to fucking get to the next town. It was like some fucked up version of my own private Idaho, and like, I'm not gonna lie, there was moments of that I enjoyed during that period, because sometimes nothing feels better than something that feels so completely wrong. And that's where Tom and I commiserated. It was like we ran on quite a different frequency, but the volume was pretty equal. It was, we each had our own different ways of putting up with things. And Tom was not a person to abuse drugs. He was the kind of person that would endure uncomfortability to break through to the next point of existence and being able to get to, like, uncomfortability was his drug, I guess is a good way of saying it.
April 14th, 1996. Tomcat was found dead again in his castle home in Villa de Reyne. He had locked himself in a bedroom where evidence suggests he was performing a voodoo ritual. Melted candles and blood covered the floor. He lay next to his .44 Magnum.
Our leader's death seemed necessary to cause of absolutely nothing. Then again, it really wasn't.
You have destroyed yourself! We once said in a melancholy story, how about the world just fucking ends when I die? You created it, you can destroy it. Suicide! Brothers and sisters killing each other, what does it fucking matter? But we argued that it did matter. We were matter, we were energy! Energy murdering, energy protesting, perpetuating the cycle, regurgitating all that we allowed ourselves to pick back up. Our own creations! Digest it all and get the best answers how we evolved. Digest select and the more pure the answer. Digest good and the more innocent we are. Digest evil and the more tainted we are.
Opposition tastes the opposite. We created dispute just to say there was more dispute. To condemn and then to condemn those who condemn. Left, right, up, down, black, white, wrong, right, darkness, light, unity, multiplicity, isolation, surrounded, alone, comforted. Then we got more complicated, colors, languages in between, and the natural cycle continues towards complete stop! We've gone from singular to plural, now back to singular. From nothing to something to everything. Now everything is just something, and that something anything. Basic everything is nothing, nothing is everything. I knew this before I ventured out into my world. Out into your world, out into their world. When I came back, I just saw how it worked, and now it has already ended. The void is near. You've all felt it, just not as I have. And you all knew, just never would face it. Now you will. And the best part is, none of you will know it. None of you will know it! Not your day!
The Dark Force entity will rise again as it has done before and shall continue to do. Tom and the Death Cat legacy will remain immortal as long as the actions are remembered.
What? Wait. Whose fucking funeral is this, guys?
Tom actually committed suicide. I thought it was another ploy, and I was devastated for months because I really did love him, even though he's crazy, and I didn't want him part of my life for a while. I did want him back in because he was my son, and I loved him very, very much, and it was just devastating. I thought it was all just a ploy, and I found out it was really true, and it was hard.
Yeah, I thought it was part of the government plot to get him away from the mafia.
I thought he was just doing that for notoriety, to be famous again and try and get back, because last time he went on tour, it was a big flop. So I thought he was just doing that to try and get, people to make himself popular again, the band Death Cat popular again, but it wasn't.
Well, I think
it was true.
He thought he was going to come back to life.
Yeah.
So our leader, Tom, in his quest to reach immortality, he ended up going crazy, obsessed with it, harvested 9 souls in an attempt to reach it, and ultimately ended up blowing his head off with a 44. Apparently a very effective weapon for ending one's life. So he succeeded, but is he immortal? Is he still here? I don't know. Looked dead to me.
I mean, it was inevitable when he killed himself, because that's another thing we commiserated with, is like nothing is ever enough. Like there always has to be more. We want the next part. It's like the little kid who wants to grow up too fast. Like we just want what's next instead of what's right now. We want it now. We don't want to wait. And I mean, we're from a generation of instant gratification, and it happens at such a young age that it just turns into the subconscious, and you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. And I think Tom eventually got to the point where that's not an option anymore, so he splattered his brains, and you know what? I commend him for it. I say, good job. I say, I'll see you in a while. I say, let's fucking celebrate it, because there's so many people that are just like us, that are trying so hard to not be like us, and they have no idea why they feel what they feel or do what they do, and they conform to patterns of behavior, and they're not willing to just live. They have to have structure and integrity, and They're not willing to admit to themselves that there may not be a point to anything. There may not be a reason for everything that happens. There actually, you know, everything that exists as our way of coping and understanding could just be false. It could just be a false sense of security we use to measure and compensate and do all the things we need to do to feel okay. And I don't think that Tom was willing to play those games. I'm willing to play them for my own selfish needs and benefits and to see what happens next. But I think Tom eventually got a good idea of what was going to happen next, and he figured instead of just waiting and toiling for it to happen, he'd just do it and take care of it.
When I found out that Tomcat blew his brains out, I had a party. Balloons, and I got a horse, because I've always wanted a horse, and he would never let me have one. And I invited everybody I knew that had stopped talking to me when I married him. It was a really, I have to say, it was probably the happiest day of my life.
When I heard the news that Tom had shot himself, I was devastated. I didn't know what would happen with the cult.
We continue on with not doing shit, and it's undeniable that blah 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 blah.
He was the one with the words and stuff. Later he would meet other absurd characters who became vital pieces of the group as well. It was notable that Austin Stoney Bear, Joseph Ossoff, and Shane...
I mean, I climb trees. I fuck bitches. I paint on walls. I jack off when I can't fuck bitches.
After the band, I just, you know, just hang around and smoke cigars, stare at the windows.
No fuck! Stop it, please! No fuck! Stop it, please! Black flag! Dead Dead brains falling apart, brains all on the floor.
Yeah.